What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Thanks for tuning in. This is Tom Hickey, one of your hosts of the wonderful On the Scene podcast brought to you by NBT Bank. NBT Bank is a regional bank in the out of New York City, but in the greater central Connecticut area. Anyone tuning in is reaching us through whatever means they watch or they listen to their podcasts. But we reach 250,000 or nearly 250,000 readers of Weha.com, the Jewish Ledger, and West Hartford Magazine. So again, thanks for tuning in. We're thrilled to have you. I'd like to introduce now my co-host, Bob Carr.
Good morning, Tom. This is Bob Carr, as you just said. Tom
Hi, Bob.
along with myself, Costa McConney, and Ryan Newton, is the founder and partner on Weha.com. Tom brings the West Hartford, the Connecticut Jewish Ledger, West Hartford Magazine, which is West Hartford's original lifestyle magazine, various tastes of West Hartford, the best of West Hartford, which recently celebrated its last, well, actually, it's recent, about 6 months ago, its 10th anniversary, looking at the 11th anniversary coming up.
Time flies. Yeah.
Other fun events throughout the year. Our podcast is assembled and posted by the Modern Observer Group, Middletown, Connecticut. And today, our guest is Hillary Sarrasin, who is with Tom at 2020 Media. But before we start, for one, I got to make a quick correction. We haven't done a podcast in a couple of weeks, as anybody can tell by listening to the beginning of this. NBT Bank is actually based in central New York, not New York City. So it's based in central New York. Those folks in
did I say New York City? Sorry about that. Oh, boy.
So I want to make sure we get that out. So
a friend of mine, family friend of ours from New York City, Manhattan, just got engaged. I must have Manhattan on my brain.
But today we really want to discuss something that is near and dear to Tom's heart, my heart, and Hillary's is marketing and sales and using different medium to market. So we're going to start with Tom just chatting a little bit about the variety of ways that you should build a marketing plan and what the thoughts behind that are, and really how you kind of create that before you start, getting out there and presenting it to the public.
Great.
So go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Bob. I mean, one of the things we've been talking about really for the last, I don't know, Bob, 6 months or so is that we've never really introduced ourselves to the community, and we don't really talk enough about, who we are and what we do, every single day. So yes, we do bring you, this podcast and all those. I got exhausted, Bob, when you rattled off all those things that we do every day. But we do all of that. But really, we wake up every morning and what we need to do is market. And I'm putting that in quotes for anyone who's listening to us. But marketing is, to me, I always say to people, it's all encompassing. It's basically everything, that you do, from your website design, what you look like online. Can you order, via your cell phone? You better be able to find what you need from your cell phone, or you're losing half of your market, right there. Can you, how does somebody answer the phone? How does someone greet or not greet people, when they walk in, in the door? So to me, it's really all encompassing. It's all encompassing. It's all the activities that a company, would or business would undertake, from the moment they open up their doors, or they turn the switch, and turn the lights on, or whatever the old, sayings, might be, for those things. And then along with that, it comes then promoting, your products and your services and what it is that you do. But I can't stress enough, and I do it every day to people, that I was just having a conversation yesterday. I won't say who it was, but it's a landscaper, landscaping business in the greater Hartford area, and they don't have their logos on their shirts. So I just said, as these people, workers are out every single day cutting lawns and trimming hedges and making everyone's yards look beautiful. If someone quickly walks by or drives by, or takes a picture, gee, I like the way that tree looks, or whatever. If you don't have a logo on your T-shirts, you're missing an opportunity, for people to see you. So, and it was so funny. He's probably been in business for 25 years, or so. And he thought to myself, oh my goodness, I never thought of that. Along those lines, I then just very innocently said, well, the guys who are wearing doing the work, or guys or gals, doing, having your logo on the T-shirt, it should match the logo that's on your trucks. And guess what I got back as a response?
What's that?
I have no logos on my
Logo on
trucks.
the truck.
So you're like, oh my gosh, okay, before we do anything, before we talk about, promoting a product, or, figuring out a way to, to get the word out, about who you are, promote yourself, advertise yourself, let people know, who you are. So I say that to people, all the time. And my, whenever, my wife and I are out shopping or go to dinner, and I'm sure you guys, have the same thing, people get annoyed with me because I might get, grouchy about the customer service, or, and I know a lot of people do, but, when you work with people every single day and you treat people the way that you like to be treated, I always say to people, I don't spend a dollar, of a client's money any differently than I would spend it if it were my own dollar. Love it. I mean, it's that, important. You get annoyed by the lack of quality, or reception that people give to you when you're in their establishment, and if you're lucky enough to have a shingle, Main Street, business, and someone walks in, say hello, acknowledge them, introduce yourself to them, make them feel special.
I think one word that people do hear a lot nowadays is branding.
Yes.
But people don't realize, just how extensive it is. And, greeting people, talking just in conversation, how you treat people, that's part of your brand.
Absolutely. And
it doesn't cost anything, right? That's the point, is that there's no cost to saying hello to people, to being. I have a couple things that Tom was just mentioning, and I wanted to jump. I don't want to jump in because you're on a roll.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Bob, you know me, I would take up the whole half hour. So,
right. Well, on the landscape, so on the landscaping thing, we needed some work done on our property a couple of years ago. And one of the landscapers I engaged got a price from, but was because of a logo on the shirt. That's exactly how I found them. Now, unfortunately, this is the thing that happens a lot, right? Gave me a price, but I called and said, love to have you work for us, when he never followed up, never came back, which I thought was odd. So the landscaper I'm using now has done several projects on our property because he returned my phone call. He gave me a price, returned a phone call.
Absolutely.
And that was key. And it was, as Hillary was just saying, I used to go to this florist in the small town of Connecticut I lived in, and the man has passed away since. However, it was on a Valentine's Day. There's a long line out the door. And frankly, as soon as your face showed up in that, he pointed to the back of the store and said, thank you for coming in. I'll be with you in a minute. And it was like 20 people in front of you. You're not leaving. When a guy points to everyone who sees come into, and we're just in this line, Yeah,
right. Yeah.
He points to the back. I'll be with you in a minute. There's no way he's going to be with me in a minute. It's going to be 40 minutes before I get to the front.
Yeah.
And but when
those little things can make a world of difference between a positive experience or even a neutral experience and a negative experience,
Absolutely.
They go a long way.
And the other thing, and she'll probably get mad at me for giving this example, but I will anyway. My wife and I were just away visiting someone, and whatever, it was later in the evening, and she doesn't eat nearly as much as I do, and so she wasn't that that hungry, so she just wanted a BLT, the bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich, pretty simple, and anyway, the establishment wouldn't make it. It's not on our menu, the whole bit. So I finally just said to the waitress, I said, well, do you have a bacon, hamburger? Oh yes, we do, just like that. So I said, okay, fine, we'll take a bacon hamburger. And then when the bacon hamburger came, I took the hamburger off, and then there was your BLT, but I thought to myself, I didn't say how much is a BLT. I didn't beg them. It's like, give people what they want. and whatever. If for some reason, like you said about branding and stuff, Hillary, if somebody wants to stick it to you when they're done, then charge them $30 for the BLT. But I mean, it's just, but no, yeah, that's what the person wanted. The chef's not eating it, and I'm very allergic to lots of things. I'm a bland Irishman, a little bit. So salt and pepper to me are spices, a little bit. So, you say to somebody no onions, then you want no onions. I know that chefs don't like that, a little bit, but if that's what the person, orders, or that's what they want, that's what they're going to remember about that restaurant. Oh my God, they took care of my wife. They took care of me. They gave me what I wanted. Everything was great. And that's all part of that branding message, right, Hillary? I mean, that's getting
Yeah,
people.
absolutely.
And to me, the last thing I always say to people, then it's creating loyalty, right? Then you're going to go back there. Or Bob, those people that if they called you back, you're going to use them again. I mean, half the battle with people who refer, go to websites, ever go to a website, listeners, and, fill out the requests for information and never hear, a word back, from anyone. I mean, I always say to people, just respond. It doesn't matter if it's 24 hours later or 2 weeks later. Better if it's 24 hours later, or
Yeah.
something between that. But just
Especially with the amount of competition out there today. There's good products, there's good services out there all around. The customer service can make all the difference.
yeah. And then we just got done.
So key number one on the marketing side is, you don't have to spend a ton of money, right? Number one, right?
Yeah.
If you have a business, you should have a logo.
Hmm.
If you have a logo, it should be on everything that people can see, which is your truck, your car, or your clothing. Again, it's not super expensive. And and the last thing is what Hillary was basically saying is just be pleasant to people. And
Hmm.
and at those are your first things, right? Again, what you were saying about the phone and the email and responding via social media. If you have a social media channel, you should respond with your social media channel. If you have an email address, email. The phone thing, if no, so few people call now. So few people call other than the spam calls
Hmm.
that if you have someone actually answer the phone at your establishment, that's a surprise, right?
Hmm. Absolutely.
And it's a
Yeah,
positive surprise, right? Because, well, whoa, I got a person, I got a human being. I'm not leaving a voicemail message for someone who's, to some bot, right? I'm getting a real
yeah,
person.
yeah,
So,
And Bob, that just happened to me a couple of weeks ago. Sad to say, because I don't always have an opportunity to answer my phone. Actually, probably 90% of the time, I do not. It goes into voicemail. But I picked up, one day because I could, and all that. And you could tell the person on the other end was completely speechless. He was like, "Wait a minute, this is the real person. This is Tom Hickey." And I'm just like, "Yes, this is me. I'm ready to talk to you." It's like, I mean, it's crazy, but it's so true. And the other thing, Bob, after all those things you said about just sort of the basics or the common sense things, logos on your shirt, on your cars, on your, to me, if you don't have uh, some kind of digital footprint in 2025, you don't exist. A little bit, because as I mentioned earlier, and I jumped right over it quickly, but minimally 50% of that audience is not making a phone call. They're googling something, or they're looking on social media, and if you're not there, they don't find you.
Where will you find West Hartford's best and most comprehensive business news? At weha.com. Subscribe to the weha.com newsletter Business Buzz for free every Monday at weha.com. Log on to we-ha.com. We have it all in West Hartford.
so that segue says, Hillary, so on the social media side, what do you see as positive things to do to create your brand, also to engage with your client base or your prospect base, your possible customers? What do you see?
yeah. I think with regards to social media, that logo and the branding extends to social media also. You want, a look to your page or pages. You want your logo to be evident so that people, if they go to your Facebook page, if they go to your Instagram, that, not in the corner of every picture of every post, but you want your look and your brand to be evident there somewhere. If you have a color scheme, if you have a logo, you want it to show up every once in a while. I think consistency in posting so that people can, subconsciously know that they're going to see some content from you, which is what we help our clients with. Um, it's not difficult. It just takes a little effort. And once you get used to it, you get the hang of it.
Mm.
There's hashtags and tagging and sharing posts nowadays. There's a whole bunch of different ways to engage your audience, and that's what you want. You don't want people to scroll right past your things. You want them to see what you're posting, and you want them to like and engage and perhaps comment or reshare, retweet. You want your audience to be engaged and enjoy your content. You want them to like what they're seeing.
I think one of the things that I recall from a few years back and going to a seminar is that on social media, you shouldn't be selling, right? You should be providing information. I don't know if that's
Mhm.
still true, but that was one of the things that came out of it is you have your idea there is to provide folks with information that they find useful to themselves, and that's how they recall your brand.
Mm.
Yeah, I think, and people can see right away if what kind of what your end game is. If you're trying to sell them something directly, sometimes that works. I make my fair share of 2 a.m. Instagram purchases, and regret it the next morning when I see what I bought. Uh, but yeah, people, you want to engage them. You want them to enjoy your content and look forward to more.
Mm.
So I also talk about LinkedIn a little bit. I use LinkedIn a lot, not as much now as I had when I was full time in my previous career, but I find that so many times people want to have me, connect with them, and then immediately, as soon as I hit the connect button, I'm getting information, they're trying to get me, interested in their product or service. And the reason I'm on LinkedIn, which would be easy for anyone to figure out, is I like to read about content. I like to see what people are doing. And if you look at our page, like my page, and see who I am and what I do, then speak to that. Don't give me some,
Mm.
boilerplate piece of information. That's it, I mean, if you're doing millions of these things, I'm sure it has a win factor of 1/10 of 1%. But at the end of the day, if you really want to engage with people, do a little research, see
Mm.
who they are,
Mhm.
and write to them specifically about what they do. And I'll
Bob,
make them.
I'm gonna interrupt too and add to that to use it as an example because I forgot to mention it earlier. Know your target audience. Know who you're speaking to. A little bit. And it was interesting on LinkedIn. I had done some kind of an update. Maybe it was after COVID or something. Basically, just saying that we were. Am I running out of juice? Nope. Sorry about that. But I lost my train of thought with that beep. Oh no. So I put out there on social media an update, on not on social media, on LinkedIn. And anyway, I was inundated by these businesses who wanted to quote on cleaning our offices. And it was during COVID. And I basically said, we're not in an office. We're never going back to an office. We all work remotely a little bit. And this went on for like 6 months. And I thought to myself, these are just like auto-generated, telemarketer or whatever, kind of schemes where they're not even reading the response that they get back with. So again,
And
understand.
if that company, if they're paying per view, it's wasted.
Yeah,
If you're not, like Bob was just saying, you need to define your target audience.
yeah,
Who do you want to see your content? And there's ways to get it in front of their eyes.
great. If you don't mind, maybe this is boring, but I think it's worth doing. Quite often, especially businesses who I'm talking to for the first time who don't really understand who we are or what we do, I do put together this little one paragraph that I send to them. That's sort of like an explanation, of what we do. And I'm just going to read it out loud without boring everyone. It's not long, but it basically just says marketing encompasses all the activities a company undertakes to promote and sell its products and services. So whatever you do to get your word out about yourself, it involves understanding your target audience, creating value for them. Going back to what you were saying, Bob, so they come back, and communicating those the value through various channels, all the different options that you have, traditional and digital, to drive sales and build loyalty. Essentially, it's about getting people interested in what you do, and what your business offers. And I think that's this, in its most simplistic terms, what we try to help people do every day. If they would only listen, but that's so that's all
I
right.
hope we're
That's
listening
another
now.
whole
Listen
discussion.
now.
Yeah, it's like so.
Well, I don't want to, we don't want to run out of time without, I think, discussing what's coming up for the Jewish Ledger's 95th, which we started celebrated last year in February, no, November, excuse me.
Yeah.
And my brain is not engaged yet. And then we want to discuss a little bit about that today.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hillary, I'll let you jump in, but I'm just going to start with so people know that we have sort of a kickoff date or a deadline. September 15th, which is a Monday, is when we will sort of kick off the 95th anniversary. All the things wonderful about the Jewish Ledger. That sort of rolls off my tongue very easily now. It did not 6 months ago. I mean, who is 95 years old? What is 95 years old? It's like, I mean, it's a very, 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 very big deal. So we want to make sure that, that we present it to the community, as such. And that's why we have someone like Hillary, who's a, expert in many, many, many areas, because we all wear different hats, but primarily in digital publishing and digital marketing. And I think that's going to be very important for us in this 95th year, trying to reach everyone.
Yeah, I think it's just, it's a big deal and we want to celebrate it. We want to honor the Jewish Ledger. We're, a couple of years ago, we went fully digital. We stopped printing the actual paper, which we were sad to do, but realized that our reach was far greater online. And people still refer to the Jewish Ledger. We're technically the Southern New England Jewish Ledger now, so our reach is even farther than it has been. And yeah, we want to celebrate this incredible product and honor it because we know it's beloved by the community and it's stuck around for 95, going on 96 years for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say 95 more, but we certainly won't be around. So, but somebody else will take it over. So,
Yeah.
but please be on the tune in to all of our social media channels. I'm sure we'll be referring to it in different times, on this podcast. But it is something very near and dear to our heart, and something very unique and very special because not everyone gets to celebrate 95 years.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. The only other thing I can think of with about close to that number, how old's your grandmother, Hillary?
Oh, my grandmother turned 103 in May.
Isn't that unbelievable?
And my other grandmother, 97. So
Wow.
Little competition going on there.
Yeah.
Longevity there, Hillary. There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Some
phenomenal.
good genes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are out of time. We don't want to take too much time, out of your schedule. Please, like this and share it. We're trying to give you a little bit of info, a little bit of knowledge into what we do every single day, and we would love to help you.
Tom, before you go now, tell people how to reach you. You didn't do that.
Oh wow, we've been talking for 30 minutes and we didn't even do that. So, all right, I'm going to do what I never do, which is text or phone 860-508-4032. That's 508-4032, or email tom@20media20.com, tom@20media, MEDIA, 20.com, or feel free to check out our website, which is 20media20.com. Anything I forgot, Hillary?
And go to jewishledger.com.
There we go. Thank you. There you go.
Wait, Bob, how do we say weha.com? Because there's a dash. Do we say
we-hod.com? It's
we-hod.com.
Don't forget that dash. We talked about that many episodes ago, because where do you end up in Germany or something, right, Bob? I don't know.
Germany. Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will look forward to seeing you out and about, not only for the 95th anniversary of the Jewish Ledger, but talking about marketing in our marketplace. Thanks for tuning in. Again, without NBT Bank, we would not have On the Scene.
What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.